Hello everyone, my name's Char. I like games and I'm here to talk a bit about gamification. Now that's been a bit of a buzzword for the last 20 years in education and software design, but I'm not here to give you the same talk about how this is an revolutionary process for us. I'm here to give you a bit of an interesting perspective from a different side. But before I do, I'd like to invite you to play a bit of a game with me throughout my presentation. If you scan the QR code there or head to the link if you prefer, it'll take you to an app where you can click every time that you see one of these lovely little pixel art coins anywhere on my slides. There are prizes for anyone who gets involved, so please do. I'll give you all a second to get sorted. I'll just wait until I've seen everyone's roughly looking at their phones in the way that I expect them to be. The QR code doesn't work. Wonderful. Follow the link at the bottom. It's got a fairly typable name, luckily. Wonderful. So in the interest of time, I will move to the next slide. So as we go through, we're going to start at level 1. So what actually is gamification? So for the noobs in the room, gamification, as described by one of the key faces in the field, Yukai Chow, is the craft of deriving all of the fun and addicting elements from games and applying them to the all really boring things that we have to do in everyday life. This was pioneered, very interestingly, by the Boy Scouts, all the way back in 1892, when they decided to put badges at the end of their bushcraft challenges to interest the people who weren't interested in them at all. Now they had something to show their parents at the end. Suddenly, everyone was queuing right out the door. So over the next 120 years from that point, designers wanted to capitalize on the essence of what made these things fun. So they worked out a design methodology known as the 8 core drives of human motivation. So what are these 8 core drives? I'm glad you asked. That went the wrong way. Wonderful. The first one is epic meaning. Everyone likes to feel like the hero of their own story, that they've been chosen by a higher power, no matter who that is, to do something important, even if that is to do the washing up that day. Next, the second drive is empowerment of creativity. This is the one that makes Minecraft, Lego, Roblox, all those building games so fascinating to play. People love to build things, they love to topple them down, they love to build them again in a completely different configuration. Interestingly, this is very, very important for us developers because this means that we have to put in as little effort as possible to make something as most replayable as possible. Next is unpredictability. People love to know not what's happening next, and you desperately need to find out. The controversial Skinner box experiments that showed motivation in rats and other animals, this is what they used to show the motivation. This is the reason that you're on the edge of your seat to find out what happens next in your novel or your movie. It's the lever that gambling pulls to keep you stuck in a loop, and it's the one behind infamous loot boxes. It's a dangerous one, unpredictability, but very effective. The next drive is social influence. Anyone who's got any sort of social media will be familiar with this one. People love people. People love to hate people. People love to be loved by people. Companionship, competition, envy, all of these drives fit under social influence. Interestingly, this also covers nostalgia, which is the reason that you went on eBay the other day and bought a Game Boy for literally no reason. The next drive is avoidance. People hate consequences. We don't want monetary consequences, physical consequences, or emotional consequences, and we'll do anything to avoid any of those. This is the button that FOMO presses to make sure that you come back when that amazing new limited time event is happening and you must be back in 24 hours. The next drive is scarcity, the want for something you don't have. Many games have these things called appointment dynamics that call you back after 12 hours to get your reward. Even better if you don't know what your reward is going to be. FOMO is another key contributor in the next drive, ownership. We love collecting things, and when we're interested in something and collecting it, we want a better one, and we want to improve it, and we want to show other people our collection. So this one is very, very powerful as a motivator for many people. And lastly, once we've completed a collection, we feel accomplishment. The final drive, and it's the most important one out of the lot, in my opinion. It checks a mental box when we've finished a challenge, overcome a problem, or developed a new skill. Importantly, this feeling is only gained when there is some sort of difficulty in getting what we want. So make sure that you put some sort of challenge before you want your user to feel accomplishment. That being said, all of these drives are highly interconnected, and it's important not to view any of them in isolation from each other. So awesome, we're a third the way through the presentation. We've covered all the foundational knowledge and you're all experts. So that means you all get the attentive attendee badge you can add to your achievement collection. Thank you very much. Remember to keep looking out for the coins throughout the slides as we go. So up as we go to level 2, and what I'm really here to talk about, if this is so good, what are the downsides? Why shouldn't we be adding this to everything that we possibly can? Most of the methods that I mentioned rely on positive motivators, things that make you feel good to keep going, but others rely on negative motivators that cause stress or anxiety to keep you in the application or system. These are known as white hat and black hat drives, respectively, and they can be carefully balanced in the right dev's hands, but not everyone knows what they're doing, and they can easily fall out of balance in anyone's hands. But even aside from the drives themselves, gamification as a concept can be used poorly. For one, gamification can be demotivating. For example, with a leaderboard. If you're at the top of the leaderboard, you might feel so good, you want to stay up there. But if you're at the bottom, there's so far that you need to go. That can be demotivating for so many people and just remind them how insurmountable the climb to the top can be. Next, for others, gamification might just feel like chocolate-covered broccoli, a very thin veil that's just thin enough that you're still reminded you are eating a vegetable and this is just something covering it up over the top. There's only so many star-shaped stickers you can give yourself when you take out the bin, and then it still feels like taking out the bin. In some contexts, gamification can even cause excess stress. By quantifying things such as how many steps you've done per day or how your metrics at work are going, you're then caused to think about them all day, compare yourself to others, and fall into this unfortunate stress loop that you just can't get out of. I've personally felt this recently when I stopped playing games in my free time that had no achievements because I thought it wasn't productive. How is it not productive to have fun without achievements? Really silly. On the other hand, gamification can also cause undesired behavior. How many times has everyone in this room logged on to Duolingo or Snapchat or anything with streaks just to keep your 365-day streak going and not actually to learn Spanish or to connect with that person from high school that you remember? Pretty much everyone, I imagine. It's surprisingly easy to encourage. So, we're almost there. You all earn your second badge. Savvy spectators, every single one of you. Keep it up. Keep looking for the coins. So, gamification is great. And I love games, and I think it's such a powerful tool to motivate people, especially in behavioral change and education. So how can we accommodate the flaws that I just mentioned while still maintaining gamification as a great tool for motivation? Firstly, consent. It's as simple as T. Ask the user if they want to be engaged with gamification techniques, and if they don't, allow them to intrinsically motivate themselves. You keep the users that are interested in what you're doing, and you avoid those who don't want to be involved. Next, design intention. Make sure the system you're designing will even benefit from gamification in the first place, and you're not just developing it for engagement numbers or because you find it fun to do. Next, make sure that you're not using gamification as a plaster on top of an application that has poor functionality, poor UI, or poor UX. It's all too easy to do. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, represented by the fatality symbol here from Mortal Kombat, I was about to say Animal Crossing for some reason. Don't just gamify your financial system because you think it's fun. Gamifying serious things could have very real, very detrimental consequences for those who fall into the traps of motivation easily. Consider which of the downsides that I've previously mentioned will come up when you're using gamification in your system and plan accordingly as you go. So congratulations, we've reached the end. You have all earned the legendary listener badge. Thank you very much for listening attentively and for clicking your phone and not listening attentively, because that's exactly what I wanted you to do. Now I have to do a funny little swap of slides in a second. Oh, no, that's the wrong way. Other way?
The tab.
Tab at the top. I'm so sorry. But we're all going to see the results of the clicker game that we've all been playing. And now this is exactly what I wanted to happen. So there's a few of you down at the bottom here that got the correct number. However, there is also Ben who got 10,000 clicks and completely did not pay attention to the point of the game. We have 2,000 up there. We have Gail at the bottom with 8 who might be feeling, I've missed the last couple of slides, so what's the point in catching up? This leaderboard here and the game we've played throughout, as well as the loading bar and the funny images that have distracted you from the important things that I'm talking about are exactly my point about poor gamification. Make sure you're being really intentional when you're using it and you won't fall into the trap like all of these people did. So that's the end. It's just a QR code with my socials on the other slide. So thank you very much for listening and not listening, respectively. There are heroes up here for anyone who participated, and you get double your bonus if you follow my socials, so definitely do that. I'm happy to take any questions.